All right, here we go. You ready?
Hold on. I think I need to sneeze. Ah,
Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I Man here from the Block Runner, and today we're going to talk about one of the more interesting platforms that are in development right now with a bunch of projects onboarding Solana. So
yep.
Solana is like an $8 billion sort of like a beast right now, and it was one of those projects that came from 2017 and has maintained its relevance throughout this bear market that we've all experienced for the last 3 years,
Mhm.
and so just now, it's getting a lot of interest just because there's a lot of new projects onboarding onto the Solana platform,
That's right.
which is why we're talking about it today. This is one of those things. Solana's always being like talked about, at least on Twitter. I keep seeing projects on Solana all the time.
Yeah, it's
So,
just another emerging ecosystem, right? Like we're seeing them spawn up left and
mhm.
right.
Yeah,
This one seems to be standing out among the pack and showing a lot of promise. The community's growing
yeah. So,
rapidly.
Solana is another blockchain, right? Just like Ethereum is a blockchain where you build smart contract dApps on top of that blockchain. So Solana is the closest competitor to Ethereum in the sense that they're a platform, right? Just like Tezos and Polkadot. We have a bunch of competing platforms. And one of your strategies in the last cycle was to invest in these projects.
Yeah, platforms is always the best.
Yeah,
They seem to always rank the highest in the market. I mean, because they're the most useful in the sense that it's framework for like a whole ecosystem. Like,
yeah,
how is that not the most valuable thing you could invest in, right?
yeah.
As opposed to just one of the components of an ecosystem, right?
Yeah, and so now talking about that strategy and comparing it to the strategy in this cycle is we're taking a look at different project platforms like Ethereum and Solana and Polkadot, and we're seeing what's built on top of it. And the pattern that we're seeing is that a lot of these primitives dApp projects that exist that started on Ethereum are being replicated on these different projects with
As they should be.
yeah,
Yeah,
as they should. Yeah, with varying degrees of like seamlessness, frictionless experiences, right? Cheaper transactions.
that's right.
And it's up to us to speculate like which project and which platform is going to succeed. It could be all of them. Like this could be a large network of different blockchain platforms interacting with each other in a like a multi-chain environment.
Yeah,
It's to be determined for sure if that's even like sensible in the long term of things.
I think it is. I think that's a realistic outlook to have in the same sense that, we're a collective society of multinationalities, right?
True.
So you can consider these ecosystems like a birth of a new nation, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way
So
to put it.
yeah, so whether we want to, I guess if you have your own thoughts, what would be better for humanity if we were all like a globally connected one governing structure of a society, or we're fragmented into our own little individual pockets of civilizations, but we still all commingle. We
True.
fly to each other's countries, we communicate with each other,
That's
we
true.
trade with each other. You know,
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, if you can get a better yield off of your winnings,
uh-huh.
then you'd rather be in that country, right? If you're going to get a better
Right.
yield, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and at the end of the day, it taps into our like humanistic roots of like tribalism, right? Like we like to affiliate ourselves with the tribe, so that's why.
That's why
That's
we're
why.
seeing so many maximalisms, right? Right,
Yeah,
with
exactly.
Ethereum, and then you have like
Yeah,
supporters for Solana and Polkadot.
yeah. That's why most of the people they label these emerging ecosystems as like money grab opportunities. In the sense that they are replicating the already existent like primitives that we've seen in Ethereum and now in Binance.
Yeah,
So those maximalists see this as like this is just purely like greed, right? Not necessarily like practical.
yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, dude. Fuck it.
But you know what?
Let's see where this goes.
What's interesting about all these different platforms is they have their own spin on how they build stuff. Like for example, in Solana, they can do anywhere between 50 and 65,000 transactions per second compared to the 15 transactions on Ethereum per second, and then like the tens of transactions per second on Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely recommend you guys read this breakdown of the 8 innovations that make Solana the first web scale blockchain. It is super interesting. And just to give you an example, they have something called proof of history. So
Mm.
we've talked about proof of work and proof of stake, and there's all kinds of like proof of identity. I mean, anyone can be innovative here for the long term.
Okay.
This all started with breaking down the differences between the different platforms. And one of the things that Solana does different is this thing called proof of history.
Hmm.
So, proof of history, just to break it down in simple terms, is like we have Ethereum running on essentially timestamps, just like most of the tier one blockchains that exist today, like the ones that we know of, like Ethereum and Bitcoin. They have a sequence of blocks that separate each other based on timestamps.
Mm.
And so, what Solana does different is they call this proof of history, where instead of relying on some external sequence of process, they rely on just integrating appending blocks to each other, and that represents time for them. And so,
So is it random? Like random appendaging?
so what they do
Or-
is the different nodes agree to append the blocks together, and once they agree to the sequence of appendages, if you will, then they're able to append, several blocks per second together,
Oh,
and that represents their time sequences, right?
okay.
So instead of putting blocks together based on some external source, right, like time, their time is the sequence of blocks that they're appending.
Interesting.
So yeah, I definitely recommend reading this thing. It's super interesting. It's like it's just a different way of putting blocks together, right? Appending blocks together in a
Yeah.
faster way.
Mm.
So and they
And they've
have
added in some like efficiencies too, like the actual validation process too, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the
So they have a tower Byzantine fault tolerance. They have something called a turbine, a
yeah.
Gulf Stream. I mean, they've basically built a blockchain platform from the ground up, as they should, and they've named like all the components that make their platform different than the other platforms. So it's super interesting, and this is why a lot of projects are building their dApps on top of Solana.
Yeah, that's true, man. And that it's not just words on paper, right? Like now they have real adoption happening, real, that's always the most important thing to look
Yeah,
at from blockchain ecosystems is the developer activity, right? It's one of the reasons why we're so bullish on Polkadot, like because they have the biggest
exactly.
developer activity, emerging from their ecosystem. So now we're starting to see it spread out. This market overall is just ballooning and like, there's so much opportunity, so much, it's like a race for development, trying to like, create the next big thing.
Yeah,
So
and kind of what we were talking about before, that when any new platform exists, you start seeing like the primitives start to get built on top of it. And so
mhm.
one of the first primitives that we see in a lot of different projects is an automated market maker. So the
Yeah,
same thing that we see in Ethereum with Uniswap, we're starting to see that happen with these different platforms.
yeah. Because
And
that's usually the gateway for new projects, right? It's listing on an automated market maker.
right,
That's literally how the ecosystems grow. What happened to Ethereum with Uniswap and DeFi, happened to Binance with Pancake Swap.
right.
And then this one is called what?
Radium protocol.
Radium. Very cool name.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, absolutely. So on-chain order book, automated market maker powering the evolution of DeFi. So this project's on Solana, and it's relatively new. I mean, joined February 2021, right? At least from a Twitter standpoint. And
Yeah, if you go and actually identify like these projects building on the ecosystem, a lot of them emerged at the same time, February, right? There was a grand like hackathon event during that month that kind of like spawned most of these projects,
yeah,
So I mean, do with that information what you will, you know.
yeah. And another
Should
project was called Step Tokenomics,
Mhm.
and this is closer to Yearn Finance. Yearn Finance and like elements of Zorion. And what this does is it's a visualization platform which aggregates all liquidity providers, tokens, farms, and positions that a user may have associated with their wallet. So if you're familiar with Zorion, it's essentially you add your wallet to Zorion, your MetaMask wallet or whatever, and it tracks basically all of the transactions that happen within that wallet. So it
Mhm.
tracks all your gas fees. It tracks whether you're connected to different platforms like DYDX, derivatives platforms. It has everything like in a cool little interface.
Mm.
And so it seems like this is very similar, but it's still a project that's like in development. So it's to be determined like how useful this will be. But because we know that different primitives are built on new platforms, there's a huge upside within those primitives, right? If we know some of those primitives are like in the tens of billions of dollars on the Ethereum blockchain, then you could kind of start measuring against what the potential of these new projects are on
Yeah,
different platforms.
exactly. Yeah, when once these projects that are like in early development phase actually hit the market, because there's IDO. Another thing, I mean, every chain has their own IDO launching system, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
most likely, most of these projects will hit the market through these IDO platforms. So it'll be important to identify who Solana's IDO platform is. I think it's called SoulStarter.
Nice.
Keep an eye on that. What does it sound like? Sounds very familiar to PokerStarter, right?
That's right.
I mean, this is clearly a trend in this space. Build your automated market makers, build your IDO incubators, and get the ecosystem
Like jump
running at
started.
full scale. Yeah, it's like a factory, right? We're just churning out primitives left and right.
And you know
You know,
what? The human brain is interesting in the fact that when you see a lot of projects built on Ethereum, as an example, you know that those projects can exist on different platforms and taking advantage of the platform's features, right? In this case, like 50,000 transactions per second. But
yeah.
we, I think development in like human history has always been like a remix of the past. So you
Hmm.
like even when you're making a song, dude, a lot of the songs that exist today are just like elements of the past, just like redone and remixed. And so we
Yeah,
we see the same thing with development. It's pretty interesting how all this works.
yeah, I agree. It's just I think that's just the natural progression of things, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And that presents us an opportunity because if we have an innovative platform like Ethereum building all these like new innovative products, we
Hmm.
can take advantage that we can expect those products to exist on different platforms. And
Correct.
and if they exist on different platforms and that platform is successful, then you could potentially be successful if you're in early.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so,
yeah. It's just a matter of identifying the potential of that community, right? I
right.
mean, you get in early on a booming ecosystem. That's why like Cardano has so much speculative value, right? The community is massive.
Yeah.
Once their primitives start to come online, how much TVL are they going to get?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's going to be massive. So that's the speculation you got to make ahead of time. Okay, I want to get in early on that lending protocol on Cardano because I know
Yeah.
liquidity is going to be there, right?
Yeah, we've seen examples of this on Binance Smart Chain. Basically,
Yeah,
almost every single project on that chain has did
yeah,
100x, right, on average.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so,
It's crazy, man. So this is definitely leading into what I think is going to be like the catalyst for summer 2021, right? Where we're going to see the most ridiculous bullish activity we've ever seen in the crypto space because we're going to have 100 Solanas out there.
yeah, 100 Polka starters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's going to be mind blowing. So
Yeah, I mean, if you go back to 2017 with the whole ICO craze, that was on a single platform, right? The ICO craze happened on Ethereum.
that's right.
Imagine that multiplied by all the platforms that are running right now and the
Yeah.
craziness that's going to ensue. Like we predicted 2 years ago that the IDO would be the catalyst for like this huge explosion in the crypto industry, but we didn't know that it was going to happen like at 20 different blockchains,
Mm.
right? And I think that's still yet to be seen, but it seems like it's coming, right? It's just a matter of time.
It definitely is coming, dude. I think it's going to be hard to stop at this point.
Yeah, I would like to be a fly on the wall in all of these governments. Like this shit, it's a runaway train in like in the most ridiculous sense.
Well, yeah, it's like we're building virtual nations that literally are existing physical, control entities have no like jurisdiction over. You can't really do shit about it. You know,
Yeah,
you can't like rally the troops and like, you know, wave the fighting stick
yeah,
at Solana to be like cease your
yeah.
economy right away, right? Like You can't do that.
Stop
I
the
mean,
production of this country.
yeah, like we're going to war, some shit. You can't line up troops on the border, right? You
Right,
can't
right,
really
right.
do anything about this. So that's what's so, I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I would like to know what's in the heads of these governing bodies, how they're going to react to this.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll know soon enough their
That
response.
sounds ominous, dude.
Yeah, but it is what it is, dude.
All right, that's the video for today. Let us know what you think about Solana in the comment section below. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at the Block Runner and also at MetaZone.io. And we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.